Now, if you're seeing a baseline, let's look at baselines because we're moving into more specifics here. When you see any sample of handwriting, regardless of whether or not, there we are, regardless of whether or not there's an actual line that's being written on, there is a hypothetical line that the person is writing on in their mind, if you know what I mean, right? There's always a line. If the baseline is nice and straight and even, you're seeing someone who's, dependable, stable. You got a baseline that's a little bit wavering like this. That's okay. Person's kind of got their footing. It's their footing underneath them too. If the baseline is all over the frickin' map, you start to worry because the rule is weird handwriting, weird person. And then we'll show you in a minute, weird lower zones, really weird person. So wavering is okay, but let's say you see a sample of writing and it's, let's go to Dave's house. Because this is relatively stable until we see it elevate with Dave, that tells us immediately this person thinks very, very highly of Dave. It's lifting them up as they're writing his name. Likewise, if you see one word suddenly drop and sink down in a line, that is, at that moment, they're not thinking very favorably of that person. Even though nobody writes anymore, dig out old birthday cards, Christmas cards, Hanukkah cards, and you'll be amazed at what you discover about your relatives and friends. They say, we were really glad to come to your party, but the space before glad is too big. And when you see a space before a word that's too big, it's because their brain is trying to cover and their hand's still moving. Okay, I'll say this. So when you want to determine a lie in handwriting, one of the methods the Israelis found was there will often be a larger space just before the word where the lie takes place. If you see a line of writing that suddenly pulls to the left, remember the left-hand margin is our line of society. One line pulls to the left. Look in that line. There'll be a lie in there somewhere. Awesome. There's some juicy things here. So, if we see one of the best traits you can possibly have, it is a rising baseline. So, the writing goes up like this gradually on a bit of a slant. Now, anything done to extreme is bad. But when we see a rising baseline, this is often found in the handwriting of very high achievers. They like a challenge. It feels like they're pushing uphill. If things are too easy and there's nothing to overcome, they don't like it. So a rising baseline is one of the most positive traits imaginable, provided it's not, practically frickin' vertical, in which case you've gone nuts. So the rising baseline will show optimism. It will also show drive to succeed. And I said an inconsistent baseline, if it's all over the place, we're looking at carelessness, moodiness, and because this is your moral footing as well, moral confusion. A really rocky baseline is someone who really is really moral one day and another day they'll just throw all the rules out the window, and you cannot see that kind of consistency with them. If you're looking at someone's writing and someone you're entering a relationship with, business, personal, romantic, whatever, check the baseline, check the stability of the baseline. If it looks like they've written on a ruler, and some writing does, it's so frickin' straight, that's one of the worst traits you can possibly have. Because once again, this is the person who is locked up tight, completely wound up inside. A number of years ago, a company wanted to hire me to do a hypnosis show back when I was doing those. And this woman, Ingrid, we're going to call her Ingrid just because that was her name, she wanted to book me and she sent the contract, and her handwriting was absolutely insane. It was looked like she'd put a ruler on the page and written a totally straight line, and every right-hand margin ended exactly in a line. I said to my wife, take a look at this. She went, uh-oh. I said, yeah. I said, this is so uptight. She is a wound-up spring, and when the constraint is taken off her, the personality will just explode and come out in either drunkenness or rage or screaming fits or something. You'll see this sometimes with borderline personalities. So I get to the event, and she's gotten there early, and she has the tightest sweater on imaginable that no one should ever conceivably wear in a business setting. And she has a rhinestone brooch about 6 inches long. It was bling before there was bling. And it just said, bitch! And she's one of these people, she was hammered. She must have had about 8 drinks before I got there. One of these people who talks to you and is 5 inches from your face, and you need a towel constantly because they're spitting. It was just the worst thing imaginable. And I saw what happened when she got a few drinks in her. The entire personality began to explode and come up from underneath this.